I didn't see a correction on that.
All right, folks, we will call this meeting to order. If you all please rise and join us in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you all very much. We will now have a roll call. I'd first like to introduce, for those that aren't familiar with C.J. Bressy, Carol Stahlhut, our regional clerk, is out tonight with the family matter, and so CJ's been kind enough to fill in for us. So welcome to CJ.
Thank you.
Fred Hetty, if you would please call the roll.
Mrs. Abram? Here. Mr. Fetch?
Here.
Mr. Grimmer?
Here.
Mr. Hine?
Here.
Mrs. Norris? Here. Mr. Purcell?
Here.
Mr. Slakow?
Here.
And Mr. Zimmer?
Here.
All right, we have all 8 council members here tonight. Thank you all very much. We're down to agenda approval, item D.
Move approval. Second.
Motion's made and seconded for approval of tonight's agenda. Further comments, questions, additions, deletions? I see no lights. Those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion carries. Your agenda is approved for tonight. Thank you. We are now down to the public portion, item E on tonight's agenda. I've got 2 cards. The first one submitted by Judy Meyer. Judy, would you like to come up, please?
Good evening. I'm representing the Bridgeton Historical Commission and Society. We are having our Page Entry House candlelight tours this weekend, Saturday and Sunday, from 4 to 8 each day. And if you have not toured the Page Entry House, I think you would enjoy it. It has been restored to the original date of 1870 when it was first built. And we have much of the furniture that is original to the house. And the house will be lit mainly with candles and oil lamps. And it's really very lovely. And I hope all of you will come. And there's some flowers.
Thank you, Judy. I've been on several of those tours. They're very nice. I would encourage anybody that gets the opportunity to take advantage of it and tour our beautiful Payne Gentry house. Next card I have is from Paul Farrar at 3754 Red Hawk. Mr. Farrar, glad to have you with us tonight.
Thanks, Mr. Mayor. First of all, I want to tell all you council people and mayor, I appreciate your service to our community. I watch all these meetings or listen to them online. I may not be here every week, but I try to keep well appraised of what's going on in our city. What happened at the last meeting with my council people that I voted for, walking out of this meeting, was ridiculous. You know, to walk out of a meeting and not take a vote, I agree with your position, or I think your position, on this building project over on Harmony Lane. But, you know, Washington's dysfunctional. This is a small town. We don't need to be dysfunctional. And just because we can't get everybody here, if you lose the vote, you lose the vote. You know, private business, this man trying to invest hundreds of thousands of dollars in our community, keeping his business here to serve our community. We need to look at the big picture. He's gone through all these hoops for months, wasting his time and I'm sure a lot of money. That office would probably have zero impact on traffic on Harmony, minimal at best. His investment in our community, he wants to own his own property. Makes sense. People always want to tell everybody else what to do. Oh, go rent a space in this building, go rent a space here. Well, that's not how he wants to run his business. So if we don't let him build his business here, he's going to move. I'm sure. I don't know, again, at all. But he's going to take his business to St. Charles. We're going to lose a valuable service in our community. Mr. Fetch, knowing a technicality for planning and zoning, that's another thing that's ridiculous. Not to bring that up to the general people at planning and zoning and to the board members. You know, if you know something, we're trying to make this city better. Not sit and wait for a time to play a trump card. And that's exactly what you did, and I think that's wrong. Like I said, my councilman, I think it's very wrong of you to walk out of that meeting. If we lost the vote, we lost the vote. I will not be voting for either one of you again. If I vote that somebody runs against you, I know you don't care about
Okay,
vote for you.
keep it focused. Just
I'm sorry, okay. I just think we should be proactive. Everyone knows getting more If everyone knows we need more members on those committees, we just need to be proactive to get, so that we're within the law. Or we need to change, whatever needs to be done. But just like I said, to keep the trump card in the pocket to sabotage the project.
Your comments are duly noted. Further comments or questions from the public? I don't have any more cards. We appreciate everybody coming out tonight. Seeing nobody else, we will close the public portion of tonight's meeting and move on to approval of the minutes. We have 2 sets of minutes, actually 3 for you tonight. Special budget session of November 12th, special budget session of November 14th, and the regular council meeting of November 20th. Is there a motion?
Move
Approval.
Second.
Which one?
You want to do it in a group?
You want to do all 3 at the same time?
No.
No?
Okay.
All right, we can take them separate. Motion on budget session from November 12th.
Move approval.
Okay.
Second.
Motion's made and seconded for approval of the November 12th budget session minute meetings. Further comments or questions, suggestions, changes? Seeing none, those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstaining? That motion carries. We are now down to special budget session, November 14th. Is there a motion?
So move. Second.
Motion's made and seconded for approval of the November 14th budget meeting session. Councilmember Sattel.
Yes, there was a couple, I think, just mistakes. I noticed there's a new one on the dais right now tonight, correcting, because I saw also that said to keep 17,000 for the citizen survey, and now you have a correct one take out. Just brought up as on the dais right now. So thank you for that correction. That was on the back page. If you look at the minutes on the front page, I'm sure that Mr. Gunn did not say this year that they used 160 tons of snow. I'm sure it was 160 tons of salt unless we are selling our snow. So I think that's just unless it's correct or everybody else's and not on mine, I think we should just politely correct it. Thank you.
All right.
Second.
Friendly amendments?
Yes.
Any concerns, questions? Those in favor of the friendly amendment signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstaining? Motion carries. Now we are down to the original motion for approval of the November 14th special session of council for budget. Seeing no further comments or questions, those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstaining? That motion carries. We are now down to the regular council meeting of November 20th. Is there a motion?
Motion.
Motion's made and seconded for approval of the November 20th regular city council meeting minutes. Questions, comments, suggestions, changes? Councilmember Sattel.
I would like to make sure we approve it with the amended changes on our dais that didn't have Councilman Norris on it twice on the vote on the page 7. The minutes that went out said she said nay, but actually all of us said A. You had her down as voting twice.
Page 7, you said?
Page 7, the top. We have a corrected one on our dais. I just want to make sure we're using the corrected one and not the one that was in our packet.
We got you.
Thank you.
Friendly amendment, those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Abstained? That motion carries. We are now back to the original for approval of the meeting minutes from November 20th, City Council meeting. Any further comments or questions? Seeing none, those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstaining? That motion carries. Thank you very much, as amended. We are down to item G, which is announcements. We have a full council tonight, so in essence, we can introduce and adopt a particular ordinance or bill if so chosen by the council. And I think the chief was looking at doing that on his particular item down when we get to introduction. At this point, we will recess for a public hearing on the proposed budget and the 3 ordinances tied with that, items 7, 8, and 9. Mr. Brookout, will lead us in the public hearing?
Yes, sir. Thank you. Mayor, I'd first like to thank our new finance officer, Christine, for all of her work on preparing the budget, and the finance office for their assistance. I'd also like to thank Brittany for all of her help in putting everything together, and the department heads for all of their time and work in preparing their departmental budgets, as well as the council for their input on the budget as well. The proposed annual budget for all city funds for fiscal year 2020 is $25,153,478. This includes $2.1 million for the Parks Fund, $2.7 million from the Capital Improvement Fund, and $17.4 million from the General Fund. 60% of the General Fund revenue is generated from the 1% countywide sales tax and utility gross receipts tax. Some of the proposed expenditures in the General Fund include $1.7 million for pension contributions, approximately $60,000 for half the year for newer employee 5% contribution plan, an additional $90,000 for half the year for logger contributions if the council votes to adopt that plan. And it also includes 1.5% employee COLA for the coming year. The capital purchases for 2020 total $763,038, and approximately 70% of those expenditures are for police and public works vehicles and park mowers. Debt service for the coming year totals $1,615,020 and is for the city garage, city hall, and the new Bridgeton Recreation Center. As we've discussed in the past, the city's primary source of revenue, which is sales tax, continues to be threatened by untaxed online sales, which has doubled as a percentage of all U.S. sales since 2013 and is expected to continue to grow in the foreseeable future. The budget as presented continues to include all services and amenities that have been provided for many years that the residents have come to expect. I'll be glad to answer any questions you may have.
Council, any questions? Mr. Bookout. Councilmember Sattel.
I know we're not really discussing the budget at this moment, but we did receive a new email on the 2nd. Can you describe what lines this $891,000 debt service expenditure? You said it was entered in there twice, and I can't find that exact number somewhere. Maybe it's hidden in
Well, if you
an email we received on the 2nd.
So if you go to Exhibit 8,
I was there.
which is the landscape,
Page 65, I think it is.
so it has been corrected in the proposal that we have, but under the old, there was a debt service line, and there was a capital improvement line.
Yes.
And I believe the debt service was about 1.6 million, debt service was about 2.7. Those two totals included that 891,000.
So there is no line that actually showed that amount, because I couldn't find anything showing that exact
Well, if
amount.
you go to the two accounts earlier in the budget, you can see the breakout at 1.6, 891,000. So it was the COPS bond for 2012 and 2013 that totaled that 891. Those two totals were in the debt service line, in the debt service account, and also in the capital improvement account.
All right, I'll study it further.
I
Thank
can
you.
show it to you later tonight.
Good.
That's good. Yeah.
Further comments or questions on the proposed budget? Councilmember Fast.
Mayor, we did get the new budget given to us, and we did get an email that had a few changes that were discussed about it at the previous meeting.
Correct.
Do we need to make any amendments on that next week when we do discuss the budget, or will that be included? Is it all okay the way it is now?
It will be incorporated into the final budget that you will receive in 2 weeks on the 18th.
Yeah, do we need a motion on that, or will that just be?
Not if it's in the actual
If it's
ordinance.
okay, very good. I was just wondering about that, because I did notice the other motions that we made at the work sessions, they were included
They were
also,
included, right.
the money for stormwater and so forth.
Correct.
Thank you.
Thank you. Further comments or questions of Mr. Bookout? Councilmember Sattel.
Yes, 3 items we had mentioned we were going to talk about at the budget. One was about about how the breakout was going to be for the laggers cost, and we haven't really discussed that yet. Another item was nothing brought up about the COLA. It's all said, it's in the printing, but it never got discussed at the budget meetings. 1.5% that's across the board. And the third item that we talked about earlier in the season was about the life insurance item that we talked about, said we would talk about at budget time. Just wondering when those three items might be discussed.
You are free to bring those up, either right now as you did, or at the council meeting if you're looking for an amendment or something of that state.
Just curious, all three of those items weren't brought up.
But there wasn't anything that prohibited you from bringing them up.
Wasn't going to stir anything up. Thank you.
Councilmember Purcell.
Thank you, Mayor. I don't know if this microphone's working, so I'll just try to talk louder. First, just a comment is all I have. Both Mr. Mayor, Mr. Bookout, I just want to thank you guys. I think you did an outstanding job, you and your staffs, putting this budget together. I know sometimes myself and other council members, we get bogged down in some of the little line items or the little details, but overall this is a great budget that is balanced and puts more money into our reserve fund and still provides great services for our residents. So thank you so much, and thank you to Christine and your staff for all the hard work of putting this together. I appreciate it.
Very good. Councilmember Abel.
I just have a question for what Mr. Sattel asked about. Is he talking about the insurance that some of them want for themselves, for the council? Is that the insurance?
I don't want to speak for the councilmember. You want to respond, Councilmember?
I can respond. I didn't know if that was protocol or not, but we discussed in some moments that we talked about it at budget time. We brought it up back in July or August about, whether it was going to be a total split or something like that, and we would then talk about it.
My question is, the insurance you're talking about, are you talking about the insurance that some of you want for the council members?
This was for life insurance that was going to be for every elected and appointed official.
We're not employees, we are elected officials.
Correct. This is what we
So-
talked about it back in July and
I don't
August.
think we have that.
No, we said we would discuss this during budget time, and this is now December, so it's budget time.
For you to request insurance for council
No,
members
not
who
for
are
that.
not employees.
All right. All I wanted was just a quick answer whether or not that was what you were talking about on insurance. So I think you got your answer, Councilmember.
Yes, I
You still
did.
got the floor. You done?
I'm done.
All right. Further comments or questions, Mr. Bookout? Seeing none, thank you, sir. We will now open it up for this public hearing from the public. Does anyone wish to address council and administration on the proposed budget for fiscal year 2020? Anyone have any comments, suggestions? Very good. We will move on then and close this public hearing. We will go back now to the regular agenda, which is emergency legislation. Excuse me. Councilmember Hine, item 3K, liquor licenses.
Excuse me,
Oh, Councilmember Zimmer?
just a quick question. Did you mean to announce somebody in appointments earlier in this?
No.
Okay. Okay.
Councilmember Hine? What did he say? Let me know if I had any announcements or points. Councilmember Hine?
Move for second consideration for liquor license application, SWP Inc., doing business as Embassy Suites, 11237 Lone Eagle Drive, full liquor and Sunday license. Francis Eichenmeyer, Managing Officer.
Motion's made and seconded for a full liquor and Sunday license for SWP Inc. at Embassy Suites.
This license is due to new ownership at the Embassy Suites. This is the second reading. The police department did a thorough investigation, background check, and found no wanted or warrants. So I'd like to move that this liquor license be approved.
Further comments or questions from council? Somebody's microphone's kind of acting up.
Yeah.
I think it's this one. Is there a way it's not working, is there a way we can turn it off or something?
I'll turn it off. There you go.
Thank you.
We should have this one.
Councilmember Hines moved and seconded for approval of a full liquor license for SWP Inc. doing business as Embassy Suites. The clerk will call the roll.
Mr. Fetch?
Aye.
Mr. Grimmer?
Aye.
Mr. Hine?
Aye.
Mrs. Norris?
Aye.
Mr. Purcell?
Aye.
Mr. Sattel?
Aye.
Mr. Zimmer?
Aye.
And Mrs. Aber?
Aye.
By your vote of 8-0, you've approved the full liquor and Sunday license for the SWP Inc. doing business as Embassy Suites. Item 4, Councilmember Hine.
Move for second consideration for liquor license application for Milk Tent 786 LLC, DBA Easy Pantry, 19711 Margate Hall Drive. Sumandeep Birdie, Managing Officer.
Motion's made and seconded for a full liquor package and Sunday license bar Easy Pantry. You did better than I on the pronunciation, Councilmember Hine. Councilmember Hine.
This is an application for a packaged liquor and Sunday packaged liquor license for an existing business. This is also new ownership. Again, the police department did a thorough investigation of the applicant, found no warrants or wanteds, and I would suggest that we move ahead and pass this liquor license.
Very good. Comments or questions? Seeing none, the clerk will call the roll.
Mr. Grimmer?
Aye.
Mr. Hine?
Aye.
Mrs. Norris?
Aye.
Mr. Purcell?
Aye.
Mr. Soto?
Aye.
Mr. Zimmer?
Aye.
Mrs. Abram?
Aye.
And Mr. Fetch?
By your vote of 8 to nothing, you approve the full liquor package and Sunday license for our Easy Pantry at 10711 Margate Hall, Sumandeep Birdie, I hope I pronounced that right for you, Managing Officer. We are down to item 5, Councilmember Zimmer, bid approval.
Sure. I'd like to make a motion for bid approval of Bridgeton Banner 2020.
Second?
Motion's made and seconded for approval of the bid for printing of the Bridgeton banner in 2020. Councilmember Zimmer.
The administration's received and reviewed all bids for the design, printing, and mailing of the new quarterly banners, Bridgeton banners. After carefully reviewing these proposals and their references, staff recommends awarding the bid to the Messenger Printing due to their quick turnaround, competitive bid, and positive references for $9,658.
Second, you need one.
No, I think we're good on that. Further comments or questions from council? This just requires a voice vote. Councilmember Satel.
Yeah, there was quite a bit of consideration from that to the lowest one. Were they disqualified by not meeting the specifications or something? I was just kind of
That was
curious.
one of the concerns. If I remember correctly, I think this outfit was out of town, which also,
It said Ozark, like Ozark, Missouri.
Yeah.
Now, I know one of them also was a Bridgeton business, but they weren't within the percentage that we talk about too, so.
correct.
But I know that the turnaround sounded pretty quick because they were here in Bridgeton, so.
Yeah, it wasn't as long as one of the other ones. For the benefit of the audience, we are going to a quarterly newsletter that will be sent out to the residents as opposed to every other month. And it will be more of a magazine style, if you will, with color and everything like that.
That's all.
Very good. Further comments or questions? Those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Abstaining? Motion carries. You've approved the bid for the printing of the Bridgeton banner in 2020.
Mayor,
Councilmember Fetch.
I know it didn't pertain to the subject matter, but are we still going to send out a brochure for the park that's going to be as it has been in the past?
As far as I understand.
Okay, thank you.
All right, we are to perfection of bills. Item 6L. Councilmember Abram.
Move for second reading of Bill 6221.
Second.
Motion is made and seconded for second reading of Bill 6221. Those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstaining? Motion carries. Councilmember Abram.
An ordinance to the City Council of the City of Bridgeton, Missouri, application number 19-PZ-06, to rezone approximately .93 acres of land located at 3710 Harmony Lane from R3 Single Family Dwelling to B5 Planned Commercial District. Move that Bill 6221 become ordinance number 19-25.
Second.
Motion is made and seconded for Bill 6221 to become ordinance 19-25. Councilmember Abram.
I just want to say that I want to apologize to the petitioner, to the dentist, for our actions on this council. He's been in business in Bridgeton for a long time. He wants to have his own business, and, because he's been renting. But, you know, the reason that we walked out was because that was the first time that I can remember in all the years I've been on here that we have denied a petitioner the right to a full council. And that's what 4 of these council people did. They denied this petitioner the right to have a full council to vote on his property. So that's why we walked out, so we could get to a full council. Since then, a petition was turned in, and now we need 6 votes. It was due to a state statute and a charter. So now we need 6 votes. But I think there was some trading of votes in here, and that's wrong. You scratched my back, so I'm going to scratch yours. And that's wrong. That's not what we're supposed to be looking at. We're supposed to be looking at each thing individually, not getting into cahoots with another ward and, you know, trading votes. And to say that up here at the council table. So, unfortunately, this probably will not pass. We've turned down things on that property before because the residents right there complained. We turned it down. I think it was a 2-story building they wanted to build. So now they get a single-story, 3,500 square foot doctor's office, dentist office for just one person. Well, they were up here complaining about that, wanting us to turn that down. They think that residential is going to go there, but I don't think we'll ever see residential. So basically what they want is nothing to be built on it. This dentist office was next to Vantage Credit Union across the street from St. John's Bank. And, you know, they're not going to get anything better than that. That's just my opinion. One doctor open Monday through Thursday, 8 to 6, closed Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, except for a half a day once a month on a Saturday. And I think we as a city should run off business people that have been here for a long time and is trying to do the right thing. And we've put this man through hell. Excuse my language. But we have put him through hell, which is very unfair and does not give our city, doesn't make us look good when it comes to people that are requesting things. That's the best I think that they're ever going to get on that property. But what they want is nothing. They want either residential or nothing. Residential is going to cause a lot more traffic if it goes there. So unfortunately, I want to apologize to the petitioner on our actions. Sorry.
Done?
Okay, I'm done.
Councilmember Purcell.
Thank you, Mayor. The city of Bridgeton faces a crossroads. We can either decide that Bridgeton is open for business and we can have a thriving economy that allows us to provide wonderful services to our residents, or we can raise the white flag and say, no, Bridgeton is not open for business. We can kill the lifeblood of this city. It is completely absurd that members who will vote against this measure are business owners themselves. That is shocking to me. A few moments ago, a gentleman, Paul I believe is his name, came up and spoke during the public portion of this. And I couldn't agree more with the words that he said. I believe that both sides in this have some fault, if we look back to the last council meeting. There was an agreement and a request by the petitioner to have a full council present. 2 meetings ago, the first meeting of November, council member from Ward 3, who was against this measure, was not able to attend because he was ill. we tabled the measure and said we want a full council present. And the other 3 people who are against it went along with tabling that. At the last meeting, I wasn't present. I was representing the city of Bridgeton down in San Antonio at the National League of Cities. And all of a sudden, the other 3 who were against it went with Mr. Fetch, who said, yes, we're going to have all 8. All of us agreed that we'd have all 8 council members present, and said, no, I'm not going to table it. Well, you know what? That was wrong. A very wise man who I admire told me once that the beauty of municipal politics is the fact that we don't have parties in municipal government. None of us up here identify as a Republican or a Democrat. And the idea is that when you don't have a team that you have to play for, that you can better serve your residents. Makes sense. And I thought, you know what? The government is best that's closest to the people. I agree, because we can serve our residents better. But what I've seen during the process of this bill is anything but working for our residents. I've seen crooked politicians who go against their word and try to backstab me when I'm not here. I've also seen other members of this council who have decided that it wasn't worth being here. And that isn't right. I know what they did, and the reason, their intent behind walking out was good. Because the other 4 members decided that, you know what, we're going to do some dirty, crooked politics.
I think you need to tone it down from the crooked politics of the politicians.
Well, I don't
Not
think...
make it personal on people.
It's not personal. It's exactly what happened. Anyway, I think the individuals that walked out were wrong. A wise woman once told me that when you sit in this chair, you make a decision. You give an upvote or a downvote. And sometimes we don't like the way that it comes out. But you know what? That's how life is. You don't always get your way. I believe that that vote should have happened, even though I wasn't here, and even though we all agreed that it wouldn't take place without a full council. I believe that this is a good business that's going to go in here. The petitioner has said himself he wants to be a good neighbor. He wants to help support this community. What he's doing is what I would want to do as a small business owner, right? Right now I rent some space. I want to grow my business. I want to grow my practice. And one day I'd like to buy my own building. I'd like to invest in this community. And that's what the petitioner wants to do. Unfortunately, it doesn't look like that's going to happen because we don't have the 6 votes from the rest of the council. And yet, the reason they say that they're against it is because they want it to remain residential. And they think that if it's residential, there will be less impact on traffic and less impact on property values. I disagree. I believe a vacant lot doesn't do any good for property values. I believe a thriving business in your community helps property values. They say they want it residential. Well, why don't we put, say, a 6-unit apartment building on that lot? It's been for sale for well over 3 or 4 years. Nobody wants to buy it and put a house on it. So why don't we put an apartment building there? That's residential. Would the 4 members of council who are opposed to this vote against an apartment building there? It's residential. But that would create more traffic, and that would decrease property values. So I don't think it's that they want it to be residential. At the end of the day, there's been too many technicalities. The problem we have here is that our charter is outdated. It needs to be reviewed. Every major city who has a charter form of government, every 3 to 5 years reviews that charter and updates it. It's about time that the city does this. Otherwise, this won't be the only time that we run into an issue where some technicality has messed us up. Let's say 2 council members weren't here, and you only had 6, and the vote was 4 to 2. That's 2/3. Everybody would think that passes. It's a super majority for crying out loud, 67%. Not under this charter. That fails. The intent of the council is withheld because of this piece of paper. I will be voting for this measure, even though it will be in futility. I hope that we learn a lesson from this and that we continue to welcome and help businesses in our community. The budget sessions weren't fun because we have to cut things. Why? Because our sales tax is going down. I understand this is a dentist office and doesn't have retail that provides sales tax to us. But if you think for 1 second that brokerage firms and agents and businesses who are thinking about coming to Bridgeton are not paying attention to this, well, you're beside yourself and you're not thinking clearly. This is going to have a huge impact going forward. I hope, I pray that the council members who are against this measure will reconsider their votes and will reconsider the future of Bridgeton. Thank you.
Councilmember Fetch.
Thank you, sir. I'm not going to make a long statement. I'm only going to say this. The document that was just waived by Mr. Purcell, if you read that, that will explain what I was trying to say about needing the amount of votes back to planning and zoning. Everybody should have known that. Having said that, I am going to stick with my vote. I am voting tonight. It's been a tough fight. We all had our say, but tonight we're voting. We got a nice email from the mayor saying it's time to put the item to rest. That's what I want to do tonight, and I want the people to know that I'm voting against this particular bill because I want to keep residential zoning in that particular area for the people I represent. Thank you.
Councilmember Grimm.
Yes, I'd just like to make one comment about, in concerning my co-consul's remarks about walking out of the last council meeting. We take all of us, I think, take our duties very seriously, and the three of us that did that, we considered that very, very carefully. It was a very drastic action, but it was for the integrity of the council. We had guaranteed the applicant, we gave a word that he would have a full council. It wasn't about winning or losing the vote. It was to maintain the integrity of the council. And we had folks here that were going to just go past that, and that was wrong, and we took a stand accordingly. So I want everybody to understand why we did that. It was not an action that was taken very lightly. It was a very serious action. I've served on this council for 7 years. I've never seen anything like that. That's the first time I can recall that. Very serious action. It was considered, and again, it was for the integrity of the council, period. Thank you.
Councilmember Norris.
I do want to, I agree with Mr. Grimmer. I was soul searching. I made a promise to the petitioner, and I thought we all to at least give him whatever vote that it went, win, lose, or draw, but we made the petitioner wanted a full council. And that's why we weren't getting it. The promise was broken. And so I felt we had to do something. And I know people don't feel that that was right, and I'm sorry about that, but it was something I had, that my conscience had to go with that. I have dealt with many things in the last 10 years, but this evidently became a life of its own. I said I dealt with Walmart, I dealt with the union here for our electrical contractors, but I never saw this to be so personal. And I'm sorry for the dentist, and I'm sorry for our businesses. As you understand, there's a lot of vacant businesses, and I don't know if they're probably going to be looking at Maryland Heights and someone else that might be more friendly. Thank you.
Councilmember Hahn.
Thank you, Mayor. Mr. Purcell, the minutes from November 6th state that there was a roll call vote taken on tabling the bill, the motion, and 2 people voted against tabling it. You said everybody voted for tabling it. Just want to state that fact. And then also, that same night, the reason that 4 of you wanted to table it is, if it was voted on, it would have failed. You needed 5 votes for it to pass. That's why you wanted to table it. You didn't want to table it for a full council. That's the truth.
It's a lie.
Okay, it's a lie. I had the floor, don't I, Mayor?
You still have it.
Okay.
You're done.
In Mr. Fetch's defense, he didn't know that charter regarding the planning and zoning was for sure. The city attorney had to come in at the council meeting and give us his opinion on it. And that night, I was at the meeting in June. That night after the meeting, Mrs. Abrams said that Mr. Fetch was wrong. So we didn't find out until we got an official opinion from the city attorney. Now, with the petition that was presented by the residents at the last council meeting, did anybody tell the dentist that that could be a possibility? And as far as knowing or not knowing about the planning and zoning rules, it's above us. It's the mayor or the city administrator that should be providing training to the board and commission members. That's all I have. Thank you.
Councilmember Fetch.
Mayor, I believe everyone had an opportunity to speak, and for that reason, I'd like to move the question.
Second.
Motion's made and seconded to call a question. Those in favor of that motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Thank you.
Motion carries. We are back to the original, which is Bill 6221 to become ordinance 19-25. The clerk will call the roll.
Mr. Hine?
Nay.
Mrs. Morris?
Aye.
Mr. Purcell?
Aye.
Mr. Sittell?
Nay.
Mr. Zimmer?
Nay.
Mrs. Abram?
Aye.
Mr. Fetch?
Nay.
And Mr. Grimmer?
Aye.
By your vote of 4-4, the motion dies. As was noted previously in discussions, there's a provision in state statute that when the city receives a petition that is signed by the registered required number of property owners or have interest in the property that abuts to this within 185 feet, as long as it's 30% of those property owners, that it requires a supermajority vote, which in this case would be 6 votes from this council. Therefore, on a tie vote of 4-4, the motion dies. The rezoning is defeated. Consideration of new bills. Councilmember Zimmer. Item 7.
Okay, I'd like to make a motion for the first reading of bill number 6226.
Second.
Motion's made and seconded for first reading of bill 6226. Councilmember Zimmer.
Thank you. An ordinance repealing the ordinance number 18-37 and adopting a new ordinance fixing the salaries of certain special service and salaried employees as denoted in the city charter for fiscal year 2020. Move to table.
Second.
Motion's made and seconded for tabling of bill 6226. Those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstaining? Motion carries. We're down to bill 6227, number 8. Councilmember Zimmer.
Yes, I'd like to make a move for the first reading of bill number 6227.
Second.
Motion's made and seconded for first reading of bill 6227. Councilmember Zimmer.
An ordinance repealing ordinance number 18-36 and adopting a new ordinance fixing the salaries of other compensation of the classified employees of the city as provided for section 8.04 of the charter and section 115 of the code of the city of Bridgeton, Missouri for the fiscal year 2020. Move to table.
Second.
Motion's made and seconded for tabling the bill 6227. Those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstaining? Motion carries. Item 9, bill 6228. Councilmember Zimmer.
I'd like to make move for the first reading of bill number 6228.
Second.
Motion's made and seconded for first reading of bill 6228. Councilmember Zimmer.
Point of order.
Yes.
The council didn't vote for the first reading. It was just moved and seconded.
On the last one?
Mhm.
Did you have it stated?
Yeah, he just moved and seconded.
Oh, I'm sorry. It was on bill 6227. Those in favor of tabling signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, abstaining, motion's tabled. Bill 6228, Councilmember Zimmer.
And move for the first reading of bill number 6228.
Second.
Motion's made and seconded for first reading of bill 6228. Councilmember Zimmer.
An ordinance of the City Council of the City of Bridgeton, Missouri, adopting a budget for the 12-month period commencing January 1st, 2020, and ending December 31st, 2020, in the amount of $25,153,478 for all funds, with operational expenditures of $19,900,622,420, debt service expenditures of $1,600,015 and capital improvement and tax increment financing expenditures of $3,576,038. Move to table.
Before you table that motion, for Councilmember Purcell, I think we need to vote for the introduction. That's what his point was. Those in favor of the introduction of Bill 6228, signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Abstaining, motion carries. Now is the tabling motion.
Move to table.
Second.
Motion is made and seconded for tabling of Bill 6228. Those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstaining, motion carries. Councilmember Hine, item 10.
Thank you, Mayor. Bill number 6229, an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Bridgeton, Missouri. Move for first reading of bill number 6229.
Second.
Motion is made and seconded for first reading of Bill 6229. Those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstaining, motion carries. Councilmember Hine.
An ordinance of the City Council of the City of Bridgeton, Missouri, authorizing the mayor and the city clerk to execute a service agreement substantially in the form attached hereto between the City of Bridgeton and Utility Associates, Inc., wherein Utility Associates, Inc. agrees to provide for a system of in-car and body-worn cameras for the police department.
Now you can make a motion.
Okay, yeah, I'd like to make a motion for second reading.
Second.
Suspend council.
You gotta suspend rules first.
Suspend council rules and make a motion for second reading.
Second.
Bill number 6229.
Motion is made and seconded for suspension of council rules. Those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Abstaining, motion carries. Now is your motion for second reading.
Now, motion for second reading of bill number 6229.
Second.
Motion is made and seconded for second reading of Bill 6229. Those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstaining, motion carries.
An ordinance of the City Council of the City of Bridgeton, Missouri, authorizing the mayor and the city clerk to execute a service agreement substantially in the form attached hereto between the City of Bridgeton and Utility Associates, Inc., wherein Utility Associates, Inc. agrees to provide for a system of in-car and body-worn cameras for the police department. I'd like to move that bill number 6229 become ordinance 19-25.
Second.
Motion is made and seconded for Bill 6229 to become ordinance 19-25. Comments, questions?
Yes,
Ron?
this service agreement has been in the works for several months. Prior to this, the police department was applying for a grant for body cameras and car cameras. However, the grant process fell through. It was taking too long, and there was no assurity that the grant would be given. This company is the leading company of body-worn and in-car cameras, and it is a good move for the City of Bridgeton and the police department. I would suggest that we pass this bill.
Are there comments or questions? I think one thing that should be noted to council, that the money for this is being taken out of a special fund called forfeitures. When individuals are convicted of crimes and they have property that's associated with that crime, like a vehicle or anything of that nature, that's a forfeiture. It stays with the funding for that, when maybe the car is sold or whatever, stays then with the City of Bridgeton. That's where the funding is coming out for our police cameras, both for the individual officers on their body list, as well as in the cars. So, what you want to say, Chief?
Yes, sir, and this is for a 5-year period. This is not going to cost the city one dime for a minimum of 5 years.
Very good. Councilmember Sattel.
Yes, I guess our next question is how soon will we have these?
If we can get this contract signed, they estimate that we will be up and running no later than the end of February.
Okay.
2 months.
So get your dates.
Councilmember Purcell.
Thank you, Mayor. Just a couple of quick things. Most of you know that I'm a criminal defense attorney, and a lot of people think that criminal defense attorneys don't like the police, and that's the furthest thing from the truth. I love the police. They do two things. One, they keep our communities safe, but two, and more important, they provide me with job security. These body cameras are wonderful. These are great. Anybody who's dealt with the court system, either at the state level or the municipal level, understands that those cases can get dragged out forever. When you have a dash cam video, or when you have an officer's body cam as part of the evidence package in a prosecution case, it flies by, right? Because there's no, well, this could have happened, or that could have happened, or the police officer did this to me, or I did this, and no, it's right there on camera. It's recorded, everyone can see it, and it helps these cases move faster. It protects our residents, but more importantly too, it protects our police officers. This is awesome, and the fact that we're going to get it for half of a decade without it costing us a dime, I mean, this is an absolute no-brainer. Wonderful, wonderful.
Further comments and questions? Seeing none, the clerk will call the roll.
Mrs. Norris?
Oh, glad I'm first. Yes, aye.
Mr. Purcell?
Aye.
Mr. Sawtelle?
Aye, for sure.
Mr. Zimmer?
Aye.
Mrs. Abram?
Aye.
Mr. Fetch?
Aye.
Mr. Grimmer?
Aye.
And Mr. Hine.
By your vote of 8-0, you've approved Bill 6029, excuse me, to become ordinance 19-25. We are now down to the attorney's report.
Nothing to report, Mayor. Thank you.
Down to council communications. We'll start with Councilmember Zimmer.
I'm going to pass. I have a lot to say, but I'm going to hold back. Thanks.
Councilmember Sawtelle.
Sounded like it was deferred to me. I am kind of disrupted that we had our conflict at last meetings. Hopefully, we've now gone past that. It was nice to see that all 8 of us got on board with the body cameras that we just passed. I think that shows that, like the mayor's email said, we need to get past this and move on. We got other more important issues to deal with. I don't think there was any kind of thing that was brought up by some council members that said, okay, you're trading for votes. I don't see that at all. I see, what I see here is that, looking for excuses, as far as how that vote came out. Some of them, I know even Mr. Fetch himself, Councilman Fetch, he did not support, he supported the Ward 1 people when it came to the subdivision on Fifi Road, yet we got on board to support them. So it was a little split up. It's not that you're always the 4 and 4, but I disagree on how this vote came out, and that, we didn't try to have time for all 8 of us to talk about it. We could have voted on this any time at the last 3 council meetings, but because there's only 7, but we all had plenty of time to talk about that issue, whether we wanted to talk about how this is going to be residential, commercial. I hope that someday that whole strip is, from St. John's Bank all the way to Avery becomes maybe senior villas or something like that. The staff and administration is always looking for more residential in our community. And yet there's times when we come down and say, wait a minute, I've been accused, you're not supportive of McBride coming into Ward 1 on Fifi Road. That's far from the truth. My only opposition was sticking, houses 15 feet from our city right-of-way where the cars go so fast. But hopefully after tonight's solution, we can get back on board and all 8 of us get on track. And I think the vote right now for talking about the body cameras kind of sets the pace. I look forward to them providing our citizens with good security when it comes at the end of February leading into March. Thank you.
Councilmember Purcell.
Thank you, Mayor. I will do my best to be brief. First, big thank you to everyone who came out this evening. Really good to see people come out, taking an interest in their local government, whether it was one particular issue or multiple of them. I'm glad to see you guys come out. I know everyone is very busy, especially with the holidays coming up, but thank you very much. It's always good to see people come and tune into local government. Anybody that may be watching this a little bit later, again, thanks for tuning in. The second thing that I have is I placed a call to U.S. Senator Josh Hawley's office and thanked him for coming out and doing the tour of the apartment complex right up the road here. This is an issue that the city has, and myself personally, have struggled with over the past couple of years. And I think the mayor has even mentioned that it's gone longer than that, for about the past 5 or 6 years. And while I know that there's not a ton that government can do, especially here at the local level, I am glad to see that there's some national attention being brought to the deplorable conditions that are right here under our nose. And hopefully this can get cleaned up, because again, over the past 2 years, there have been multiple residents that have come to myself and my fellow councilman, Mr. Grimmer, who have said, look, this isn't right, and nobody's doing anything about it. You're my elected official. Let's get something done. So I appreciate the senator taking his time on a weekend, to come out and to take an interest and to help our community. Third, while it is not in my ward, in Ward 2, I did receive a message on social media from a resident who has a request for a street light. It's on the north end of Scotch Drive, and I don't remember off the top of my head. I apologize if that's Ward 1 or Ward 3. But they say that, look, they go walk, they walk the dogs, whatever, and they walk around the neighborhood, and there's a big stretch there on the north end of Scotch Drive that is just almost completely just black, just dark. And so they'd like to see a little bit of lighting there, and hopefully we can accommodate them. I know in the budget we put in the money to add 4 poles around the city. I know 4 doesn't sound like a lot, but they're expensive, so 4 is better than none. We're trying to get better. And the last thing that I would have, I'm not going to talk anymore about the rezoning that failed. I will pretend, to Councilman Zimmer's pleasure, it sounds like, I will pretend that I didn't hear the previous councilman say that he'd like to see the businesses gone and see new villas go up that way. Killing industry in our town, I don't think is prudent of an elected official. But anyway, I would call on the mayor and the council president in tandem, or whoever the procedure may fall to appoint a committee of residents, a charter review committee. I believe that it's well past time that this be done. This is the charter for the city of Bridgeton. It's the rules. It's our little constitution, if you will. And it needs some changes. It's a bit outdated. Some sections are perfectly fine, but others need a little bit of help and a little bit of updating. This is something that is not going to be a quick process. This is something that will take multiple months, and I would recommend that we appoint individuals who are willing to serve from every single ward in the community and have them make a recommendation to council and to the city at large, the voters at large, to adopt a more updated charter that would better allow us to serve our residents. Thank you so much.
Councilmember Grimm.
On a little lighter note to my co-counsel here, I hope you all noticed that wonderful lit wreath that's hanging on the front of our government center, our city hall here. And I asked our city administrator, Mr. Brookott, I said, Kevin, is that a winter wreath? Is that a holiday wreath? And the answer was, no, sir, it was a Christmas wreath. And that is to my great delight and satisfaction. It is a Christmas wreath as it should be. Thank you.
Councilmember Flash.
There's nights when I got to keep my brain in front of my mouth, so I'm going to do that tonight. And with having said that, I'm going to just ask the Public Works Director if you have anything new regarding the sump pump problem on Avery and Benedetta. Because I went by there this evening and there's still a lot of water out on Avery. It hadn't reached down to Benedetta yet, but I don't know if it's been fixed or this is just from drainage or not, but I appreciate him commenting on that. Thank you, and thank you for your comments, everybody. You do so.
Thank you. Councilmember Hine.
Thank you. Just wondering what's going on with land dynamics at Natural Bridge and St. Charles Rock Road. Chief, just wondering, do we still have one opening for police officer available, or are we? You can answer later.
When it comes up.
Yeah, okay. And then I just wanted to say it was an honor and a pleasure to go to the Medal of Valor ceremony a couple weeks ago regarding our 3 officers that received the medal due to their rescuing a gentleman and his wife out of the burning building on Gallatin. back in May or June. I was wondering if the wind shear towers, or have we heard anything regarding the letters you sent to our senators and Congress people? And then also, I'm still scratching in my head about our agenda from November 20th. Why was bill number 6221 put at the bottom when it should have been before 6223, 6224, and 6225? Just a comment. Thank you.
Councilmember Abram.
Oh, did you say nothing?
Yeah.
It's you.
Pause on me?
Yeah.
I'm sitting on.
I didn't hear you say Abram, so,
Sorry.
no, I really don't have anything tonight. I think,
Very good. Councilmember Norris.
No, I always do.
Yes, we do.
I just want to add on to the TEH situation. You know, that business is, I don't know what's the deal, you know, it owns Fannie Mae $5 million. I mean, they've come in. My only concern is for our residents of Bridgeton. I am glad the federal offices are getting involved, but my concern is there any information that we can give to these residents? It doesn't sound like the solution is going to be very good. You know, hot water heater at 33 years old and a person having to pay for their furnace on their own. So is there any agencies that we can help them to get their first and last months? I think that's where a lot of them are on very limited income, and they're having trouble to find the first and last, you know, the deposits. So that's something I would really like if we can get. I know we can't do this as a city, but maybe we can get some private agencies to help them out. And then regarding the sales tax, I just encourage you, the people, we need a Christmas miracle, and we need to shop at Kohl's. I tried to do my best, but I am not out here all by myself. And also in regard to the holiday season, please be vigilant. You know, I mean, you know, make sure you're looking where you're going. Don't shop by yourself. You know, ladies, please be aware. You know, I know getting in, loading all those packages, you get, you know, you forget, but maybe shop in teams, so, you know, one can be watching and one can be loading. So just be careful out there, but keep shopping, okay? Thank you.
So you're presuming
That's
them
why I
don't
didn't
have
say
a lot of packages? You're presuming them don't have a lot of
Well, okay, you just hold the bags, don't you guys?
Councilmember Purcell, did you have a question of one of the council?
Oh,
Yes, it related to Councilwoman Norris. Just a quick piggyback on that. When you are going to load your cars or start them up in the morning since it's getting cold, you know, make sure you're keeping the car locked. You know, a lot of times the police chief will tell you these cars that are getting broken into are ones that are unlocked. So just make sure, you know, this time of year a lot of people start the car and then walk away. You know, make sure you have that extra set of keys, or you can lock the doors or something like that. Just be careful.
I'm sorry, Mayor, I have one more thing, and it's directed to Mr. Zimmer. I saw Davidson Surface Air wants solar panels. How big are those solar panels going to be that he wanted a 250,000 square foot? How big are them solar panels?
It's not too bad.
Oh.
It's reasonable.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Councilmember Abram, follow-up question on one of these?
no, now you know why I didn't say anything.
Okay.
I told council.
We'll go to department reports. Chief, you want to start us off with the police?
Sure. I'm happy to report that all of the full-time positions for police officers are full. And we just gave a conditional job offer to the vacancy for full-time dispatcher to Jason Seidman. He has accepted the position, and he will be giving us a start date within the next couple of weeks. And of course, that's all conditional pending his background, drug screen, and physical. And we also gave a conditional job offer to Andy Ackman as a part-time dispatcher, so things are looking up. And relative to the locked automobiles, we had one that was left unlocked and running on the parking lot at Quick Trip. The other morning, the guy went in to get his coffee and came back, and his truck was going down the Rock Road. We did recover it at Mount Lebanon Cemetery. Why they picked that location to park the truck, I don't have an answer for that. And if you saw anything on social media relative to the prowler in the Bridgeton Valley area, That subject was caught behind the 11,300 block of Old St. Charles and was taken into custody.
Very good. Thank you, Chief. Brendan, Parks Department report?
We've got our breakfast with Santa this Saturday, December 7th, from 9:30 to 11 at the restaurant. They'll have crafts, Santa on the porch breakfast, and other opportunities for the kids. Registration is closed, it did fill, so just a heads up for anybody for next year that you do have to pre-register. You have to order food and whatnot, so they need to have a number ahead of time. An update on a neat event that we do, a program that we, our fitness supervisor coordinated, a 2,000-mile challenge. It was in the month of November. In 2018, we ended up just short of that with almost 1,900 miles. This year, just completely shattered it, ended up with 3,500 miles for all of our participants. It's from the rec center, so really being engaged of the fitness participation in our community and the rec center. So, and then also, Councilmember Fetch, you had a question about the parks brochures. Those will remain the same, not related to the banner. So we'll still do the 3 issues.
Mr. Gunn, Public Works and Streets.
I will need to check with staff regarding this on Avery and Benedetto. We were working with the homeowner over the last several weeks, and I'll check on the progress and get back to you on that. As far as getting ready for winter, we're getting our last shipment of snow tomorrow, an additional 500 tons for the dome. So it's pretty much at 99% full. So we're ready for the next round of snow coming our way.
Very good. Mr. Bookout.
There was a question regarding the land dynamics project. For the residents that aren't aware, it's the proposed development down at the corner of Natural Bank and Rock Road. And it has stalled for a couple of years now. Initially, they were planning to do some retail and fast food restaurants. We still don't have anything from them. They've been talking about some different options, but they haven't formally submitted anything to the city. So I just want to give you an update on that. Planning Administrator Zach and I met last week with an engineer with the FAA who came in from Kansas City. For those of you that aren't aware, the airport wants to add 3 more wind shear towers. There's currently 9 in the area around the airport, not only in Bridgeton, but Hazelwood and on the northeast side of the airport. They want to locate 3 wind shear towers in Bridgeton. 2 of them are on the north side, not near any residential, but they were planning to do one at the corner of Anmar and Long Road. And as one of the council members alluded to, we sent letters to our congressional delegation, and they, I think, moved a little bit on it. He wanted to come and meet with us and talk about alternative locations. He did explain to us the parameters that they've got to meet when placing that wind shear tower. So they're actively looking at other locations, but they don't have a third location yet. So we're still in talks with them. And the last item, there's a memo on the dais for the council. I want to announce the promotion to Public Works Superintendent. It is Matt Elliott, who is one of our current employees, and he was promoted. We're looking forward to great things from him, and we think he'll do a fine job in that position. Robert will introduce him at the next council meeting, so he will be here. That's all I have. Thank you.
Very good. Any questions, Mr. Bookout? All right, on the mayor's report, a couple things, just briefly. Mr. Hine alluded to, we had 3 officers that for the first time in Bridgeton's history received the Medal of Valor. Those were Officer Stanford, Officer Sorpi, and Officer Payant, I believe. Did I pronounce it right, Chief? Yes, sir. I just want you all to realize how big of a deal that really is. You know, these officers put their own lives in safety when they went in, and there was an explosion about a block and a half away from here at the condos. And they went in, and at the end of the shift, we had them up here about a month and a half, 2 months ago to honor them and their families. Their families also joined us at the Medal of Valor. That's a big deal for the city. That just shows you the integrity of all of our officers. Those 3 are just a fine example of all the rest of them that also serve you, all the citizens of the city of Bridgeton. So I was very happy and very honored to be able to take part in that. So thank you all very much on that. In regards to the towers, I have talked to Congresswoman Wagner about that issue. I've also talked to the staffs of Congressman Blunt and Senator Hawley. I did go out. They've assured us that if there's an issue that comes up that we're not happy with regards to the location, that they will intercede on our behalf. Also talked to, trying to remember the other person's name. There was one other individual, I don't know if it was Congressman Clay's office, I believe it was, that expressed our concern about that as well. The two we have no problems with. They're often areas where the airport is bought out large sections of property, but why they have to be at the end of a residential street on this one is beyond me. Maybe as Mr. Bookout and Gunn alluded to, they have a rationale for it. Perhaps we can find out what that rationale is before they build it. But rest assured, we have talked to them. In regards to THL, or TH, sorry, I get all my acronyms messed up. I did come out when Senator Hawley was in town. I met with his staff. I didn't meet with the senator per se. I had to leave real quick. They and others in town have expressed support for whatever we do. You may have read some articles in the news about the city of Bridgeton had 30 citations against the ownership of this. The individual ownership failed to appear on the court date. There's another court date coming up in January. We are continuing to go out on a daily basis to inspect those properties. One of our concerns, though, that I have, and this has been expressed, is we can go so far with it, but in order to condemn or anything like that, we then require those residents to vacate the properties. They don't have any other place to go as yet. I don't want to force, especially this time of year, it's any time of year really, but especially now with the cold weather setting in, I don't want to displace residents who can't afford to find another spot to get out. It's up to that individual owner of that property to fix it. It's no different than you or I or any of our other residents. When we require them to go out and cite somebody maybe for cutting their grass that gets too tall, or they've got trash piled up, fortunately for us, most of the citizens of the city of Bridgeton are responsive enough that they take action to do it on their own. Unfortunately, in this particular case, the individual has tended to ignore us. We're not going to ignore him. We're going to continue to pursue charges, if you will. They're basically ordinances, they're violations of our ordinances. And it's our intent to prosecute to the fullest extent that we can. But I'm not going to turn them out. I'm not going to just vacate it and close down those apartments. Not unless somebody's got another viable option for housing. You know, we will do everything we can, and we are to try and stop to get the individual to correct his problems. The Councilmember Purcell alluded to it when I first came on. About 3 years ago, there was a problem there with the air conditioning. I called the individual who wasn't even in the country. Said, you need to fix your air conditioning because it's like 101 degrees and those are brick facilities. Got very hot. He did at that time was somewhat responsive in terms of buying some window units, but that was better than nothing. But in this particular case, you know, furnaces or you've got, you know, we even checked to see if there's water service at every one because we had reports about that. You saw, unfortunately, human waste that backed up into the basements. And I applaud the individual that came out and cleaned that up. But then, as I told somebody else, you know, that just helped out the owner of the property. That was his responsibility. That shouldn't be on the cities or those residents because they pay their rent. So it's our intent to fulfill that and make sure, or to fully go after the individual to make sure they clean it. Part of the problem is they may hire somebody for 1 week and a week later the person's gone because they failed to pay. They're failing to even make their payroll. That's not what we need here in the city of Bridgeton, in my opinion. So we will continue to pursue it as much as we can. Councilman Fitch.
Mayor, I just wondered if you were done with that.
Yeah. It comes up again, TEH, comes up in January for court again. We will be there. Go ahead.
My question was about, is there anything new on Better Together? The last I heard, the committee was not organized in the city yet. Are they where they're supposed to be right now?
Yeah, the City Board of Aldermen have refused to bring up the mayor's recommendations for 9 appointments to the Board of Freeholders or electors. City Board of Aldermen have a meeting this Friday and next Friday, and then they're off for a month.
I see. But it hasn't been resolved yet then?
It has not been resolved, no, sir.
Thank you.
All right, that's all I have.
Move we adjourn.
Second?
Motion's made and seconded to adjourn. Those in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. Motion carries. Adjourn. Thank you.